Hello and welcome to the FatBoss Guide to Beastlord Darmac on Mythic difficulty in the Blackrock Foundry.
Yes, and this is probably the first boss that you'll be going after because he doesn't need a hell of a lot of DPS and HPS, but he's pretty cool. He's got a brand new mount at the end, and actually that's about it.
Yeah,
the new mount's pretty good though, so at least there's that. Now, if you haven't seen the heroic mode guide to this fight, then make sure you do click up on the annotation on the screen now, and that'll take you straight to that video, because pretty much all the mounts do act the same way, so it's very, very important that you at least know how they work.
Now for this encounter you do need to bring 2 tanks, bring 5 healers, and bring a mixture of ranged and melee DPS. Cleave is good here, they will pull off some pretty big numbers, but your single target is the most important. You do need to kill these guys quick, all the individual mounts, to still make sure that you do bring your strong single target DPS.
So we'll quickly go over the boss abilities that Darmac has by himself, which is of course Pin Down and Call of the Pack, and these are pretty much unchanged. It's just with Pin Down, it does, like, the damage that it deals when it lands is actually quite noticeable now, so healers just be aware that people are going to be taking more damage than usual. Of course, don't get hit by them, and you do actually want to slowly kill off these spears with multi-darts and Starfall and all that kind of stuff, because of course when Dreadwing dies, the boss sets all the spears on fire and they're doing damage to you, so it will help minimize raid damage by slowly killing off the spears. It's not #1 priority, but just make sure you do it. And of course the Call of the Pack works the same way, spawns a bunch of beasts. On Mythic they do get a bit of an attack speed boost, it's completely negligible, don't even worry about it, just kill them off and you'll be absolutely fine.
Now the boss will still jump to the closest beast at 85, 65 and 45% and mount them, and every single beast in this fight has the exact same abilities, but because it's Mythic, as you may imagine, all the abilities just hit far harder. One new aspect that has been added to the whole boss jumping onto the mount mechanic is that the boss will actually dismount one of the beasts on 40%, which means you'll have to deal with both Darmac and the mount at the exact same time. Each time this sort of scenario happens, you just want to make sure that you nuke the mount down as soon as you possibly can, and then Darmac will gain all of his abilities as soon as the mount is dead.
Now on Mythic we do actually recommend killing the mounts in a slightly different order than we did recommend in our heroic guide, and the reasons for this will hopefully become clear. But let's go through each and every mount and what you need to do. And first off, you actually want to start on Cruelfang. You just want to deal with him in the exact same way as you did on heroic. Make sure you're being spread for the rend and tear, and making sure that you do dispel the savage roar, which is the enrage buff. Now when Darmac dismounts Cruelfang at 40%, you will actually need to dispel both Cruelfang and Darmac's buff from the savage roar. You can't just dispel one, because otherwise one of them is going to be hitting for 75% attack speed, and it's just generally horrible. Just make sure you do have 2 dispels available for this ability.
And then of course after Cruelfang dies, Darmac will then gain the rend and tear ability just like he did in heroic, as well as the attack speed aura, and he'll only cast this rend and tear ability while he is dismounted. That all works exactly the same as heroic, so you don't need to worry about it when he is on another mount. As soon as Cruelfang's dead, you then want to move over towards Iron Crusher. When he is on top of Iron Crusher, the raid needs to make sure that they're spread for the Stampede, which is the charge ability. Tanks need to taunt around 2 or 3 for the Crush armor. And on Mythic difficulty, the Tantrum deals a shit ton more damage than you'd actually think. The amount it's been scaled up from heroic is a lot more. And really, every time this ability comes in, you want to make sure the raid is already topped, and pretty much every time you need to use a healing cooldown. So this is why you're going to bring your 5 healers, because each time this does come in, you pretty much need to use at least 1 cooldown.
And this is really the reason that you want to do Iron Crusher second instead of first, because the raid healing really picks up from this point on. Now when Darmac dismounts Iron Crusher, just make sure you kill Iron Crusher off really, really quickly, and when Iron Crusher is dead, Darmac will gain the Tantrum ability as well as the physical damage dealt buff.
Lastly, you'll go on towards Dreadwing. This is when the boss will be on around 45% health. Tanks, you want to do what you did in heroic, just make sure you keep swapping for the Searing Fangs, roughly on around 8 or 9 stacks. The raid should be really close to the boss, just so you avoid the breath, because the breath on Mythic hits way, way harder. If the breath is directly faced on you, and you react quickly enough to it and actually move out the way, you will only ever get a maximum of 1 stack. 2 stacks will probably force your healers to dispel, 3 stacks will force your healers to pretty much spam heal you while you have it. So just make sure that you do avoid this breath as quick as you possibly can. And on Mythic there's also 3 conflags to dispel, so you need to make sure that you assign which healer is to dispel which one, just so they're done nice and quickly.
Now when Darmac dismounts Dreadwing, make sure that you are spread out 7 yards because of the rend and tear ability. Now this may mean that you do need to move slightly further away from the boss, which means it might be harder to avoid the Inferno Breath ability. It's just kind of what you have to do, because getting a bunch of stacks on people isn't nice. So just make sure you are spread 7 yards while both Darmac and Dreadwing are up. Now when Dreadwing dies, Darmac will gain the Superheated Shrapnel ability, which is of course another name for Inferno Breath, and will cause the spears to deal fire damage to you, and of course the ads will leave behind pools of fire. Same as heroic, just you make sure that you do continue to take down these spears over a period of time.
And this is finally where you'll get to see some new stuff. As soon as you knock the boss down from this 40% mark to around 25%, he'll finally go on a new mount that spawns out the back of the room. It just like charges through some doors, and he's called Faultline. Now, just like when Darmac is on the other mounts, he will not be casting any of the new mount abilities that he's gained from those previous mounts. He will still only be doing his spear and Call the Pack. However, Faultline himself, as you may imagine, has got a load of new abilities.
Now, first off, he actually has got a stacking 10% damage increase, and each time he does gain a stack, he'll do a small amount of damage to the raid, but reduce your movement speed by 50% for 3 seconds. And this kind of sucks, because you do need to move from another ability called Cannonball Barrage. This will just place a bunch of red circles on the ground that will deal damage after, like, once they land. It's horrible. Move from it. In all fairness, even with the slow, you have got enough time to move from it. Just make sure you are quick, and you'll be absolutely fine.
Now, Faultline, unlike the other mounts, doesn't actually have a stacking tank debuff. Instead, he just does damage that is split between the 2 closest targets. So you need to make sure that your tanks are stacked up on top of each other. Otherwise, one tank will just take a complete battering. However, this means it's really difficult to pick up the Call of the Pack, or the beasts that spawn, so you need to make sure that your hunters and your rogues are shit hot on using the MDs and tricks in this phase, just so all the beasts go towards the tanks. Otherwise it's a complete pain. This does mean that other DPS, you might need to sit back and wait, but you need to do that, otherwise you're going to die.
Now, Faultline's main ability is something called Epicenter. He will place a large circle underneath himself that will deal ticking damage and slow anyone in it. And the main thing about this pull is that it does last forever. Now, because of this, you will actually slowly start running out of room in the encounter area. So it is important that you do use the space that you have as well as you can. We make sure that we place these epicenters at the end of the room where, like, Faultline spawned. We place one to the left and then another to the right. Then we move back and place another one to the left and another one to the right. And we slowly just move backwards like that.
One thing to note about this mount is that the boss will not jump off it at 40%, he'll only jump off it once Faultline is dead. So once you've managed to deal with all of Faultline's abilities and all of his mechanics, as well as dodging the spears and dealing with the ads, you'll then just have the boss on his own with all the 3 other mount abilities, so the Inferno Breath, the Tantrum, Rend and Tear. However, he also gains the Epicenter ability.
Yeah, which is pretty horrible, as well as the stacking damage increase, which also slows the raid as well. So generally at this point, it is the scariest point in the entire fight. Now you want to pop Bloodlust. Hopefully you've saved some healing cooldowns. Because of the stacking damage increase, Tantrum's going to be hurting even more. It's very likely that a couple of people will die, and it's actually pretty close. You pretty much Bloodlust and hope you kill him.
It's pretty messy,
yeah,
to be fair.
It gets a bit messy, but overall you should be able to nuke him down as long as you have saved maybe a couple damage cooldowns, as well as you've got your second pot and all that kind of stuff. You should be able to nuke him down before he kills you.
One thing you might want to do in this last phase, instead of putting the epicenters on the left and then the right and then moving back, left, right, move back, you can just put them straight down the middle of the room and have a group of players either side. So it makes it a lot easier to move from things like Inferno Breath, but it's still important that people remain spread because of the Rend and Tear. If you have super high Rend and Tear stacks in this phase and then you get Inferno Breath stacks and then a Tantrum comes in,
you're dead.
You're just flat out dead, especially if you take epicenter damage as well somehow. So you just need to be really, really careful. Make sure that you are spreading this phase. Make sure that you don't take too many stacks of the Inferno Breath. Dodge the epicenter as well as you possibly can, and just use a healing cooldown every time Tantrum comes in. And that's pretty much all the advice we can give you in this phase.
Yeah, just fucking kill it.
You got to kill him before he kills you.
Just kill it. You'll be fine. So thank you very much for watching, guys. If this guide did help you out, then make sure you give us a like. It helps us out a lot. As well as if you'd like to see any of our other Blackrock Foundry Mythic guides, then make sure you do click up on the annotations you see on your screen now. It'll take you straight to those videos.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.